problem with Christians who are tell me say, because the thing in the Bible, you can't question it. I have a problem with Rasta who are tell me say, because Haile Selassie say something, you can't analyze it. You have to just accept it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all are doing good. Hope you all are doing great. So your boy here come across this one. Question raised, is the Bible holy? So guys, this one is gonna be really interesting. So you wanna stay tuned. And don't forget, I'm here on the Black Unity program. So feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you're new. With that being said, let's go ahead and hear what Mutabaruka got to say in this one. My people, let's walk.
As we are telling you now, we're going to go to the meat of the matter now. We tell you say we are continuing our program over the start last year, and even though the year is so done, we have to catch up quick. As that we have to push in as much things as possible to soak in your brains. You understand? That you can understand certain things even wider and have a different and more conscious perspective. That when you're talking, you can talk with proper authority. You understand? This is a theological college of the cutting edge right here on IRFM Wednesdays in Ocherios. We want to hear all the people them in England who listen to it like how they eat them breakfast. We love that. Don't know much about the Bible. Most Jamaican people have a Bible at their house. Most Jamaican people quote the Bible. Most Jamaican people don't read the Bible. But them all that tell us them believe in the Bible. We are say the Bible is a compilation of works by many different people over a different period of time. Based upon of what them was going through, based upon of them ways to try explain certain things that going through in them life. Now we come and take it and we read it and claim say is the authority, the book of authority for life. We not going to give credence to that because we don't know say a whole heap of the book there mess up bad.
Hello, this is Ken Davis. When I was in the 6th grade, a building was going up across the street from my school. Like most 10 or 11-year-old boys, I preferred watching bulldozers in action and concrete being poured to whatever was being written on the blackboard. I spent a lot of 6th grade gazing out the window. I don't think I learned anything that year. The red brick structure I watched rising with such absorbed fascination was a church. Unlike the soaring Gothic cathedrals of Europe or the formidable stone church my family attended, this was not a typical church. It was being built in the shape of a mighty boat. Presumably, it was Noah's Ark. Most of us have a mental picture of Noah's Ark, and we all think it looks like a cute tugboat with a little house on top. Except that Noah's Ark didn't look anything like that. You can look it up yourself. Right there in Genesis, you'll find God's little instruction book, a set of divine plans for building an ark. Unfortunately, like most directions that come with bicycles or appliances, these are a little sketchy, providing little more than the rough dimensions of 300 by 50 by 30 cubits, or roughly 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. God told Noah to add a roof and put in 3 decks. Beyond that, God's instructions came without a diagram, unless Noah threw away the blueprints when he finished. So we should count Noah putting this thing together in time to beat the rains as one of the first miracles. Many years after I gazed out that classroom window, I discovered that the original Hebrew word for ark literally meant box or chest in English. In other words, Noah's Ark actually looked like a big wooden crate, longer and wider than an American football field and taller than a 3-story building. So the architect who designed that church to look like the Titanic may have understood buttresses and load-bearing walls, but he didn't know his Bible. He wasn't alone. Millions of people around the world own a Bible, profess to read it, and follow its dictates. Many say they study it daily, but most of us have never looked at a Bible, despite insisting that it is important. According to one recent survey, 9 out of 10 Americans own a Bible, but half never read it. Why? For most folks, the Bible is hard to understand. It's confusing. It's contradictory. It's boring. In other words, the Bible perfectly fits Mark Twain's definition of a classic, a book which people praise and don't read. Not only do we praise the Bible, but we quote it daily in public and private. It permeates our language and laws. It is in our courts for administering oaths. Despite the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it is on the Capitol steps when America inaugurates a president. It is cited by politicians and preachers, playwrights and poets, peace lovers and provocateurs. As its phenomenal sales prove, the Bible holds a special place in nearly every country in the world. There are complete Bibles in more than 40 European languages, 125 Asian and Pacific Island languages, and Bible translations into more than 100 African languages, with another 500 African language versions of some portion of the Bible. At least 15 complete Native American Bibles have been produced. In English, there are more than 3,000 versions of the entire Bible or portions of the Bible. The King James Version, first produced in 1611, and the Revised Standard Version remain the most popular translations, but publishers thrive on introducing new versions and specialty Bibles every year. The Living Bible, one contemporary paraphrased version, has sold more than 40 million copies since 1971. Around the world, active Bible study classes attract millions of students. So whether we worship in some formal setting or not, it is clear that people of nearly every nation remain fascinated by the Bible and its rich treasury of stories and lessons. To many of them, it is still the greatest story ever told. For millions of Christians, the Old and New Testaments make up the good book. For Jews, there are no Old and New Testaments, only the collection of Hebrew scriptures that are equivalent to the Christian Old Testament. In spite of these differences, the common chord for Christian and Jews is strong. These books have been the source of inspiration, healing, spiritual guidance, and ethical rules for thousands of years. The Bible is clearly many things to many people. The problem is, most of us don't know much about the Bible. Raised in a secular, media-saturated world in which references to God and religion leave us in embarrassed silence, we have wide-ranging reasons for this ignorance. For some, it was simply being bored by the drone of Sunday school or Hebrew class. Others received their Bible basics from the great but factually flawed Hollywood epics like The Ten Commandments, The Greatest Story Ever Told, and The Robe. Even those who think they know the Bible are surprised when they learn that their facts are often half-truths, misinformation, or dimly remembered stories cleaned up for synagogue and Sunday school. Sure, most people have some recollection of Noah, Abraham, and Jesus, but they are less likely to know about the tales of rape, impaling, and ethnic cleansing routinely found in the Bible. These are timeless stories with timeless themes: justice and morality, vengeance and murder, sin and redemption. Raised in a traditional Protestant church with a full menu of Christmas pageants and confirmation classes, I thought I possessed a fairly solid biblical education. While attending a Lutheran college and later Jesuit Fordham University, I continued to study the literature and history of the Bible. But then, in writing an earlier book called Don't Know Much About Geography, I posed a few simple questions related to the Bible. Where was the Garden of Eden? What is the world's oldest city? Did Moses really cross the Red Sea? That's when I got some surprises. In researching the world's oldest city, for instance, I learned that Joshua's Jericho is one of the oldest of human settlements. It also lies on a major earthquake zone. Could that simple fact of geology have had anything to do with those famous walls tumbling down? Then I discovered that Moses and the tribes of Israel never crossed the Red Sea, but escaped from Pharaoh's chariots across the Sea of Reeds, an uncertain designation which might be one of several Egyptian lakes, or a marshy section of the Nile Delta. This mistranslation crept into the Greek version and was uncovered by modern scholars with access to old Hebrew manuscripts. To me, the fact that the Exodus, one of the key stories in the Bible, was garbled by a mistranslation was a striking revelation, and it set me to thinking, how many other glitches are there in the Bible? How many other little mistakes in translation have blurred our understanding of the real story? My questions about the Bible took a more troubling turn when I wrote Don't Know Much About the Civil War. I discovered that Christian abolitionists and defenders of slavery both turned to the Bible to support their positions. Slaveholders pointed to the existence of slavery in biblical times, as well as laws and biblical commands requiring slaves to be obedient to justify America's peculiar institution. Abolitionists cited Jewish laws for emancipating slaves and sheltering runaway slaves, New Testament verses that suggested freeing slaves, and Jesus' commandment to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How could the Bible be right for both of them? The moral quandary pitting slavery against abolition marked a turning point in American history. For the first time, doubt was cast on the Bible's authority. My own curiosity about these troubling questions of biblical authority and accuracy come at a time when new research and scholarship are challenging many accepted notions about the Bible. For instance, there have been startling discoveries drawn from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the ancient Hebrew Bible texts, unearthed 50 years ago in some caves in the desert near the Dead Sea. These scrolls, the oldest known versions of the Hebrew scriptures that make up the Old Testament, have added immensely to an understanding of Bible texts and life at the time Jesus lived. Even more dramatic and controversial are questions raised in the Gnostic Gospels, a book that explores a cache of 1,500-year-old Christian documents very much at odds with the traditional New Testament stories of Jesus. Discoveries such as these are prompting serious scholars to re-examine very fundamental questions. Who wrote the Bible? Did Jesus say everything we were taught he said? Did he say more? Don't Know Much About the Bible is aimed at answering these questions for an audience that still considers the Bible sacred and important, but just doesn't know what it says. Of course, these sorts of questions also challenge traditional notions about what the Bible says, and I suspect my approach will roil people who are possessive about the Bible. On balance, however, this is a program in which historical accuracy, cultural context, and removing confusion about archaic words and mistranslations are all given a place in understanding these ancient texts. I try not to interpret the Bible so much as explain what is actually in it. As a historian, I know that tampering with the Bible is a risky business. I'm sure that some people will not be happy with my work because it challenges conventional wisdom by asking questions. Many people have been taught not to question the Bible. They fear that if you pull one loose thread, the whole thing will unravel like a cheap suit. Ultimately, the Bible is a book of faith, not history, biology, biography, science, or even philosophy. The questions I pose may be an affront to people who still believe that the Bible is the unquestionable Word of God. But for centuries, scholars and thinkers, many of them devout believers, have been raising legitimate doubts about the Bible. People of faith shouldn't fear these inquiries. If my questions upset you, blame Adam and Eve. After all, that forbidden fruit was plucked from the tree of knowledge, and knowledge is what this is all about. Underlying the Don't Know Much About series is the notion that school doesn't end when we leave the classroom. I believe it is crucial for people to question the easy assumptions they grow up with about religion, history, or a Ford versus a Chevy. The world is a school, life about learning. In the words of poet William Butler Yeats, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. Beyond lighting a fire, Don't Know Much About the Bible has more ambitious goals. We live in fascinating but confounding times. Rarely has the world seemed so corrupt, yet rarely has there been such worldwide interest in religion and spirituality. Whether it is millennial curiosity or the weary rejection of modern life, Many people are pondering their lives and searching for something. Call it family values, morality, virtue, perhaps even faith. For these searchers, don't know much about the Bible sets out to offer some help in attaining wisdom and discipline, for understanding words of insight, for acquiring a disciplined and prudent life, doing what is right and just and fair, in the words of Proverbs. An ambitious goal? Absolutely. In other words, for the modern spiritual journeyer, this program sets out to provide a roadmap through a Bible that remains morally instructive, vividly alive, and spiritually challenging. Can I bring you faith? Make you believe? I'm not even going to try. If that is what you find, amen. If you don't find faith in this program, however, I hope you will at least find wisdom.
What is the Bible?
Most people think of the Bible as a book, like a long and complicated novel with too many oddly named characters and not enough plot. Pick up a Bible. Hold it in your hand. No question about it, it's a book. But it's vastly more. The word Bible comes from the medieval Latin biblia, a singular word derived from the Greek biblos, meaning books. So, in the most literal sense, the Bible is not a single book, but an anthology, a collection of many small books. In an even broader sense, it's not just an anthology of shorter works, but an entire library. You might think of a library as a physical place, but it can also mean a collection of books. And the Bible is an extraordinary gathering of many books of law, wisdom, poetry, philosophy, and history, some of them 4,000 years old. How many books this portable library contains depends on which Bible you're clutching. The Bible of a Jew is different from the Bible of a Roman Catholic, which is different from the Bible of a Protestant. Written over the course of 1,000 years, primarily in ancient Hebrew, the Jewish Bible is the equivalent of Christianity's Old Testament. For Jews, there is no New Testament. Both the Jewish Bible and Christian Old Testament contain the same books, although arranged and numbered in a slightly different order. In Jewish traditions, their Bible is also called the Tanakh, an acronym of the Hebrew words Torah, for law or teaching, Nevim, for the prophets, and Ketuvim, for the writings. These are the three broad divisions into which the 39 books of Hebrew Scripture are organized. These 39 books lay out the law, traditions, and history of the Jewish people and their unique relationship with their God. Starting in the beginning, with the very creation of the heavens and earth, these 39 books follow the lives of the ancient founders of the Jewish faith, the patriarchs and the matriarchs, and recount the story of the people of ancient Israel in good times and bad. While many of us recall childhood stories of such Israelite heroes as Abraham, Moses, Joshua, and David, the true centerpiece of these books is the code of divine laws, primarily laid out in the first 5 books, or Torah, that both Jews and Christians believe was given by God to the prophet Moses more than 3,000 years ago. For Christians who worship the same one God of Judaism, this Old Testament is a significant part of their religion and traditions, but it is only part of the story, because their Bible also includes a second act, or sequel, which tells the story of Jesus, a man Christians believe was the Son of God. Its 27 additional books recount how most devout women established the Christian church just about 2,000 years. This quick literal answer question the Bible is an issue. Who would comment that the Bible is the divinely inspired word of God, given to humankind through God's prophets? In other words, God dictated these Bible books word for word to men in his divine stenography pool. Centuries of research into the Bible present a far more complicated picture. The Bible is the culmination of an extended process, covered with centuries of inky human fingerprints, of storytelling, writing, cutting and pasting, translating and interpreting. That process began about 4,000 years ago and involved many writers working at different times, a fact that may still come as a distinct surprise to a good many readers.
Are the Dead Sea Scrolls the original Bible?
In the spring of 1947, while the British still controlled Palestine, Mohammed Ed-Dib was tending goats in the arid rocky hills near the northern Dead Sea shore. The Dead Sea is actually a salty lake in the middle of a desert, the lowest point on the face of the earth, and one of the hottest and least inviting landscapes in the world. The fresh water flowing into it evaporates rapidly in the heat, leaving behind a thick mineral broth. Fish can't live in these waters, hence a Dead Sea. In the hills that surround the Dead Sea, the young goat herder dropped a stone into a cave and heard it hit something. Investigating further, he came across ancient clay pots filled with scrolls and scraps of old leather covered in mysterious writing. His accidental find was the beginning of one of the most momentous and controversial discoveries in history, that of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Muhammad's find launched a wider search of the surrounding area, generally called Qumran, approximately 10 miles south of Jericho, on a plateau overlooking the Dead Sea. After the initial discovery sent amateurs crawling all over these rocky hills, scurrying to find more scrolls, an orderly archaeological search of Qumran was eventually organized. Over the years, many more scrolls and remnants of scrolls were uncovered. 50 years after that first find, researchers are still trying to piece together all of the tiny bits and pieces of leather fragments preserved by the dry desert air. What is clear is that these ancient scrolls included some of the oldest known texts of the Hebrew Bible ever found. Written in both Hebrew and Aramaic, a Syrian language closely related to Hebrew, and the language spoken by Jesus, more than 200 biblical documents have been found. Some are almost complete, others are in fragments. The scrolls contain at least a portion of every book of the Hebrew Bible, except the book of Esther. Sophisticated dating techniques have proven that some of these scrolls were written nearly 300 years before Jesus was born. Others came from Jesus' own lifetime, a turbulent period in ancient Palestine when Rome controlled a contentious, rebellious Jewish people. The Dead Sea Scrolls make two facts clear. By the time Jesus was born, an official list or canon of Hebrew books in the Bible had not yet been set. And while these old books are very similar to the Hebrew scriptures as they are known today, there were slightly different versions of some of these ancient Hebrew texts. While the scrolls from Qumran offer fascinating information about the Hebrew text of the Bible and life in first century Palestine, they leave another big, tantalizing question unresolved.
Who wrote the Hebrew Bible of Old Testament?
Many readers of the Bible still possess the divine light bulb notion of the Bible's composition. In this scenario, a man was sitting in his tent in the Sinai desert when suddenly, in a glorious flash, the entire text of the scriptures started flowing onto parchment or papyrus. As the Gershwins put it so succinctly, it ain't necessarily so. The history of the Holy Scriptures that modern Jews and Christians study is a fantastic story in itself, a tale out of an Indiana Jones movie. It's still unfolding with each new archaeological dig and discovery of an ancient scroll. Yet while the depth of our knowledge grows, the answer to a basic and extraordinary question largely remains a mystery. Who wrote the Bible? In spite of tremendous strides in scholarship and research dedicated to this question, the fact remains, no one really knows. And we will probably never know, short of some archaeological find of earth-shaking significance. But it is safe to say that the King James Version, familiar to most English-speaking Christians, and all the other versions loading down the bookstore shelves, are only recent links near the end of a long chain of troubled, sometimes badly garbled, and often conflicting translations. These various translations over the centuries have shaped perceptions of the Bible and what people believe it says. It still comes as a surprise to some English speakers that the Bible was not written in English. or to German speakers that it was not written in German. But research into ancient manuscripts, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the discovery of other ancient libraries have provided many more clues about the people who did write the Bible. First, researchers have learned that some of what appears in the most ancient sections of the Bible, including some of the stories in Genesis, was probably borrowed from other more ancient civilizations, particularly those of Egypt and Babylon. Various aspects of the laws that God gives to Moses in Exodus are similar to Babylonian laws known as the Code of Hammurabi, which is a few centuries older than the Bible. The story of the infant Moses set afloat in a basket is similar to the Mesopotamian legend of an ancient king Naaman. In other words, the authors of the Bible, like writers before and since, were not above liberal borrowing, or what modern writers call fair use. The beginning of the actual process of writing down on what Jews call the Tanakh and what Christians call the Old Testament dates back more than 3,000 years to approximately 1000 BCE. BCE, or before the Common Era, replaces BC, before Christ, in the dating system scholars now prefer. The actual process of writing down the scriptures followed an oral tradition that goes back at least another 1,000 years. The oldest of the Hebrew scriptures are the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. In Jewish tradition, these 5 are called the Torah, which means law or teaching. They are also known as both the 5 books of Moses and, in Greek, the Pentateuch, or 5 scrolls.
Didn't Moses write the Torah?
For centuries, Moses was accepted as the author of the 5 books of Torah. The Torah stated that Moses wrote down what he was told, so this was not simply a scholar's opinion, but an unquestioned matter of faith for both Jews and Christians. Some editions of the Bible still assert that Moses was the author of Genesis, and there are earnest believers who hold that as an article of faith. In the past, daring to question that fact took guts and more than a little chutzpah. When an 11th century scholar pointed out that a list of kings mentioned in the Torah lived long after Moses died, he was called Isaac the Blunderer, and his books were burned. Better his books burned than himself, Isaac undoubtedly mused. By the 17th century, as Europe entered the era of the Enlightenment, when rational thought and scientific observations were elevated over blind faith, other scholars began to question the authorship of Moses. A French priest who raised questions about Moses was arrested and forced to recant his views. In the grand tradition of the Roman Catholic Church, his writing was banned and burned. The official church resisted these questions about Moses for the same reason it always does: to ask questions raises doubts. But their power rested on unquestioning belief. Let some troublemakers start asking about Moses, and before you know it, they'll be asking why women can't be priests. What these generations of scholars all noted was that the books of Moses, in which the laws of God had been laid out, contained contradictions in time, place, and names that couldn't possibly belong in the time of Moses. Why were there duplicate versions of so many Bible stories? Versions that did not always agree. Why, for instance, does Genesis open with 2 different versions of the creation? Even more troubling, there were different names for God. If God had dictated these scriptures to Moses, why hadn't God used the same name all the time? And finally, how could Moses write, at the end of Deuteronomy, "Then Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab at the Lord's command"? These and other troubling questions raised by the mystery of Moses just wouldn't go away. And as the Enlightenment and Protestant Reformation chipped away at the pervasive power of the Church of Rome, the questions were asked by more and more people. No longer could church leaders explain away the numerous differences in style or the contradictions and anachronisms contained in the Torah as the Word of God, take it or leave it. As generations of scholars pursued this mystery, it became clearer that Moses was not the book's author. They might be the books of Moses, but they were not the books by Moses. Equally important was the mounting evidence that the books attributed to Moses were composed at very different historical times. To many serious scholars, it seemed apparent that more than one author was at work. On many of these points, honest people still disagree. The difference is no one is being burned for heresy any longer.
If not Moses, then who?
Most scholars now agree that there were at least 4 or 5 main authors, or groups of authors, of the Hebrew Scriptures. They believe that they were composed over a long time, stretching from sometime around 1000 to 400 BCE. The idea that the Torah evolved from a combination of various sources is formally known as the documentary hypothesis. This thinking gained such weight that by 1943, even the Vatican, under Pope Pius XII, acknowledged it was time to solve these questions. Today, the idea is widely accepted and taught by leading religious schools, including the divinity schools at Harvard and Yale, the Union Theological Seminary, and both the Jewish Theological Seminary and the Hebrew Union College. The precise identity of who wrote these books is an unsolved and most likely an unsolvable mystery, barring an archaeological find of the most revolutionary sort. But the principal authors have been given names and are identified by 5 letters of the alphabet: J, E, D, P, and R. J is the oldest, most celebrated of these presumed authors. J is from the first letter of the German word Yahweh, the source of the word Jehovah, another mistranslation now written in English as Yahweh. The biblical writer, codenamed J, consistently calls the Israelite God Yahweh. J is the Hebrew Bible's best storyteller, more interesting, more humorous, and more human than the others. J's Yahweh interacts with man easily and directly. Close on J's heels is E, the Elohist, so called because this author used the word Elohim for God. Although some scholars have placed E before or even contemporary with J, most think E came later, perhaps between 850 and 800 BCE. Most agree also that E is a much less colorful writer than J, and that E's contribution begins with the story of Abraham in Genesis. The third Old Testament author is known as the Deuteronomist, who most likely worked between 700 and 600 BCE and was responsible for large portions of the book of Deuteronomy. D is also thought to have shaped the major historical works of Hebrew Scripture that describe the conquest of Canaan and the establishment of the Kingdom of Israel. The texts credited to P, known as the priestly author, include some of the most familiar words in Western civilization, including "in the beginning," the creation account found in Genesis 1, and the first version of the Ten Commandments. P's contribution was probably written sometime between 550 and 500 BCE. Dry and detail-obsessed, P was especially interested in codifying and justifying all of the ritual laws developed by the early Jewish priesthood. P might as well have been called L, because he is so concerned with the law, but he is also often as long-winded and tedious as a lawyer. In addition to these 4 writers, or groups of writers, there was probably another individual or group responsible for creating the Pentateuch, and some of the other early books of Israelite history as they now stand. In some respects,
you're tuned to the Theological College of the University of the Cutting Edge, right here in Ocho Rios. Look here, this weekend, Rebel Salute. How you know, say, Black History Month coming up, there's a series of activities going to take place. Just tune into the Cutting Edge and it's taking place. We're there with you right through. That is one of the confusing issues in the minds of the Jamaican people for years, especially when it comes on to them own faith, especially when it comes on to the Christian faith in Jamaica. As the man said, most people have a Bible, most people don't read it. And our brother just called me a while ago and he might try to show me a thing and me ask him something else and he might say, me I go around, you know. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous when we talk to certain people. This year, Hey, this year, me not gonna have no patience with certain reasons, you know. We are telling the truth. Me not have certain patience with certain reasons, because them things that I take up my time, more time. I take up my energy, you understand? But it was amazing about the Noah story, because, you know, I always go back to this Noah story. And I hear Mr. Chisholm try explain where a logic still, when I hear the program, when they have the brethren name, Fagan, from up Blue Mountain there. I hear Mr. Chisholm try explain where the idea of the ark and the whole heap of animal them in it, and you know, it clean out. They might try to show something in there, but isn't it amazing that before the ark, this God that them talk about in the Bible recommended a vegetarian diet for people. Then them come and wash the whole earth and kill everything. And then now Noah, who is supposed to be a vegetarian, this is reasoning here, because if we go even further back, if you remember Cain and Abel, you know, and Cain was the one who planted the ground, and Abel the one who was the hunter, the cattle, the one who deal with livestock then. And Cain was the one who deal with ground provision. But God accepted the sacrifice of the animals over the one who was planting the ground provisions. Now, isn't it amazing in this story that it's supposed to be history, which we still not accept as history on this program here, that Noah in this ark, who is a vegetarian with all his family, is vegetarian, and saving. I mean, this is so weird that Noah saved all of these animals in the ark for how much days, how much months him in the ark, save the animal them, and as him come out of the ark, him start kill off some of them for burn them as ark sacrifice to God. This is so amazing, man. You save the animal them from destruction, and as you come out of the ark, you start kill them off for offer them up as a sacrifice to God. And Genesis 8 tell you say, and God loved the scent of this dead flesh. I go up to him. Not I say, look at the Bible and you see, God loved the scent of dead flesh going up to him. So, at one stage, the animals are saved in the ark, and then as Noah come out of the ark, so, him start to burn the flesh, burn the animal flesh them. And then now, this is where now, them say now, the old dietary law thing change now, where God are going to specify now, say, boy, man, no, you can't go and eat some animal, you know, because the earth stay away, you know, but it's a thing. Because Bridget called me a while ago, I wait me a while ago, but about ham. But the man never know him, I say, because something about some foolishness, I've just never read. And that is the same thing. Anytime a man going to argue over something, he must be able to understand that him have to have knowledge of something that him going to argue about. You can't call or argue with somebody with no knowledge of something. How can you be calling me and argue with me about something? Let me tell you, say, so what in the thing that the man is saying that is wrong? And he has say, well, you will go check it out. No, but you can't say wrong if you can't substantiate say the man wrong still with saying what I say. His interpretation. You know, it's just like I. And that is the reason why I and a whole heap of these people always catch up. And that is why now I hear Mr. Ian Boy and I say, him Christian people, them do have no intelligence, them can't think, them don't reason. You see, and that is what disgusts him. And I can't say it disgusts him. I mean, I can't hear it disgusts him. That here are some people who are defend the same thing with him. And anytime him bring them on him program, and them attack to people who is opposing, not only the people them, but opposing even his view, them can't stand up to no criticism and not serious, intelligent analysis of where them are defend. And the reason for that is because a whole heap of what them defending is either them don't have no knowledge of it, or what them defending cannot be substantiated by evidence and understanding of logical facts, reality. And that is what it is all about. That is why some people afraid for evil, just looking at the book and question something where we hear a while ago, or where the last time we played it, the second part of it. A whole lot of people afraid to question these things. Scared, very scared. So we come to that and we are saying, we hope say it will allow the students are the ones who want to think, to really think and analyze certain things. Over the years we were taught without question. And then I have a next problem too. I have a next problem with a man. I have a problem with Christians who are tell me say, because the thing in the Bible, you can't question it. And I have a problem with Rasta who are tell me say, because Haile Selassie say something, you can't analyze it. You have to just accept it. Watch a man, we have intelligence with human being. I have a serious problem with any Rasta who come tell me say, boy, Haile Selassie say that to know, so what you say? You question it? Then wait there. Because I am Rasta, I must be able to analyze logically, intelligently, what Haile Selassie says. And because I say Haile Selassie now, it's the same thing the Christian have upon the people them with the Bible. That them say God write the Bible, so you can't question it. And anybody who question the Bible, you know, this and this and this and that. It's the same thing. I see some Rasta bring half for me, you know, and some Rasta bring half for one. That Haile Selassie say something. Him not analyzing what context did Haile Selassie say, who he must say it to, and why I'm saying it at the time when he must say it. Because there's enough information now that is presented to I and I that wasn't in the time of a whole heap of the things that Haile Selassie say that need to be updated. So when a man come tell you now, say, boy, because he's a Rasta and Haile Selassie say that, there's no way now you can look into it. But just accept it. After me no puppet. And that is not downgrading or degrading the Rastafari idea and concept of Haile Selassie. It is just meaning that you are using your intelligence as a normal human being to evaluate what was said. And that goes for anyone. And I would not recommend any youth right now. Because a whole heap of youth right now as a Rasta. And a whole heap of elders tell them certain things. And them afraid them can't come out of the grip of that elder talk. Because him look on the elder as a person who knows certain things. And when the elder quote certain things, and say, boy, Haile Selassie fly upon lightning bolts and all these things. Him can't go in them head cup and say, boy, right, them a question him say, because boy, right now, the man has did a long time, and I'm not going to question that. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I will not bow to that understanding of Rastafari. And I will not recommend any youth and starting out with my daughter them. And I hope them not bring, well, my daughter them now bring up for them people. I hope them don't, I starting out with my daughter them to say, look here, man. Don't make no man come tell you, say, there's nothing in earth that you cannot question. There's certain things in earth that you can't question. Everything can be questioned. No matter who or what it come from. If you don't understand something, you have to question it. If it is said, and you don't see through what it is said, and you have another reasoning and understanding about what is said, you need to present that understanding and that reasoning. No matter who say it, no matter what say it. So no guy, no come round the corner now, to come catch me at the same thing where me I run from. When a man tell me about the boy, from it in the Bible, I saw. When we come understand now, say, there's a lot of things that is said in the Bible that need to be questioned. And it need to be understood a different way too. Not only question, but it need to be understood a different way. We have to understand from which part, from whence cometh the reasoning. Why was it said? When was it said? What was happening in the period of time when it was said? And who said it? Very important, who said it. So we can't run from one slave mentality and come to the next slave mentality right now. Haile Selassie said this, therefore what? So if Haile Selassie said the thing now, what that means? It means that I cannot look into it. Watch a man, if my father says something to me and I don't understand it, Rasta, me I will question it. And me I will show him points and understanding about the thing. Because right now, there's a lot of things that young people know right now. In how much year old them is. You have 20-year-old youth. When know things right now where your grandmother at 100 years old, in a fear 100 years, she'll never know that. And you have youth right now. We're not talking about experience, we're not talking about knowings. We're not talking about what you experience, because obviously an elder person has experienced more than a 20-year-old. A 100-year-old person can talk about and relate his experience much more articulately than a 20-year-old that don't even go half at 100. But in terms of knowledge, because knowledge don't have to come with experience. Knowledge don't have to come with experience of nothing. Knowledge is where you acquire through information. And we are saying there's so much information that is around the place right now that a person can be 100-year-old and a person can be 20-year-old, and that 20-year-old know more than that 100-year-old person because of the information that is flying left and right in these times. This is the age of information. This is the age of science and technology, where technology advances the perception and the knowledge of things gone and things that is here now. So we don't want to get no religion with no Rasta, no Christian. We're not a religious mindset people. And especially upon this program, we go into the religion thing. That a man come tell me, say, boy, right now, this is in the Bible. Therefore. Haile Selassie said this. Therefore. What the hell is going on here? Or we jump from one thing to the next thing and I go on like say we're free and liberated. It is about the liberation of the spirit, liberation of the heart, liberation of the conscience and the consciousness. It is not about this said that more said that no, without questioning anything. The Bible tells us, boy, right now, Joshua commands son to sit still. No question that because I say, boy, right now, God can do anything. So if Joshua command, I read with the Ethiopian dad, I said it already upon his program. I did a New York one night and I sit down and I read the Ethiopian data. And I said, tell me, sister, you really believe, said the sun was moving around the earth? She said, well, if the Bible says it was moving, it was moving. So when the Bible said Joshua commanded the sun to stand still, it is implying that the sun was moving. And if it implies the sun that was moving, it is saying that Joshua has the authority and the power through God to make the sun stop. Now Galileo, who scientifically proved that it is the earth that revolves around the sun, was damned because he said this, because the Pope at the time said that it is in the Bible that the sun moves and not the earth. So when Galileo come with this devil thing, well, see that now, we understand different because of more information that is presented. So this little Ethiopian data tell me now, in all our intelligence, in all our, what she tell me about Los Angeles and she's in the acting this and that and all these things and her father's this and her this is that and she's related to Haile Selassie. In all of what she tell me now, she say, and this is what she say end up with, she say, look here, in those days, if the Bible in those days say, God, Joshua commanded his son to stand still through the power of God. Therefore, in those days, it was moving. That is fair conclusion. No. How can I be a well-thinking person who can deduct consciously what is happening and come to a conclusion like that? Because it is in the Bible. And most Jamaican people, most black people get caught with that thinking. So when the Bible tells us, boy, right now, Adam and Eve, snake attack, you know, the snake, I want to know what the snake did. The snake used to upright, but when God cursed the snake, now the snake start crawl upon the belly. You know, all these stories. A man feed 5,000 people with how much barley loaf and 3 fish and all these things. And people say, it must be that because it's in the Bible. So them tell you about this God named Yahweh, Eldonai, Elohim, all of these names that them give, these titles of some entity that is outside of themselves. And then come and say the entity inside. One time they tell you the entity outside, or they tell you, because they realize it's madness, they will tell you, no, it's inside of you. And then you have to accept the inside. Look here, man. Look here, man. We have to face this reality. It's just a pity that sometimes, like for even them tape, you know, we are play like Jamaican people have this thing where, like when I talk to them now, it's like a madman that, you know, Mutabaruka, a mad boy. But say a white man come and tell him the same thing, it have more validity. What a judgment. What a judgment. That I can't sit down and tell you the same thing where a white man I tell you. But because the white man come in a coat and tie and suit, film argument more legitimate and my one more outrageous. Because he's a Rasta man who walk barefoot and flash blacks and attack certain language and certain way. It just sounds stupid. But the same man come in a coat and tie. It's the same thing I go on in Jamaica. The same thing I go on in Jamaica. I wanted to see a man dirty and tattered on the road. I run across the next part of the road. A man I come with a coat and tie, you know, I run from him. And the same coat and tie man going at the bank. Go write a bounce check and fraudulent to get money out of the bank and rob poor people because I'm having a coat and tie. So we lose that thinking. Because now we play this and we are say, whole heap of youth right now sit down and analyze it. So the last time we do this, whole heap of youth sit down and analyze it. Whole heap of ones come on me yard and, you know, CD, them want the CD, them go them college and where and all these things. So it's not an exercise of, you know, just playing it. It's an exercise of increasing your knowledge base so that you will be best able to become either a better person in what you believe in, or you analyze and realize that what you believe in has no substantial basis of truth or reality, and it's just through faith why you believe this thing. And that's all the Bible is about. The Bible is about faith. The Bible has nothing to do with if there's a tree in the garden of, because them name certain place that is geographically accurate, because them name certain name that we know say, well, maybe it exist, we now declare that this thing is true. But look at all a story like Superman. Look at all Batman in Gotham City in New York. No way, Batman don't live in New York, Rasta, but them use geographical areas that people is familiar with to present a fictional person. And nobody believes that there's a Batman in New York and there's a Superman flying all over the place. And that is what the whole heap of the Bible is. The whole heap of the Bible is like a Superman, Batman story. Where this great Superman just come and save the world all the while when the world is in a problem. And yet still look there now. See problem. I was watching the television weekend and I don't know much of the one them know about this story about them some miners did in a mine in I think a Georgia or somewhere. Them a mine coal. And I am watching this thing on the TV and it's there so I know because I lay down and to be honest with you, I lay down at the hotel the whole day and meditate on the whole thing that I see on the TV. And I go, and for those of you who never hear this news, some miners go down in that thing and couple days them down there and nobody don't know how them can come out. So them are going to send some people down there now to find the miners. Alright. The people them in the town, which is a very small town, most of the people them in there is really survived. This happened in America just last week. The people them survive after mining, you know, it's a nice town, the people them go to church and behave nice and them is Christian mining and thing. So the people them gather in the church. Hundreds of people gather in the church, a whole heap of cameraman go down there. Them gather in the church to pray for them loved ones because them underneath there and them a pray say them down dead and everybody a pray for a miracle. That even the mayor, even the senator get up and say, boy, right now, it's only a miracle can save these people. It's only a miracle can save these people. These 12 miners are 13 of them in the mine. Because when them look now, them say carbon monoxide and all these things in the air and the amount of that carbon in the air is too much for any life, support any life down there. And them down there so long without any air, oxygen have gone and all that thing there. So the people in the church are pray. The people them on the TV on CNN are pray. And they bring all these experts to tell you now, say this and this and that and that. All right. Bam. A news come. One man dead one of the minor them dead. I want the people them listen to this story, I know. Because people go and twist around and turn around stories all the while to suit them own faith and them own thinking. The people them are pray to help the ones them under there. Through faith, them hope say, God go and listen to the prayers and save the minors. One of the minor them dead. According to where the news come out, say one dead. The woman who is the wife of the minor who dead, start to cry. She still a prayer and say, well, boy, no, she don't know so it go. Alright, news come out now, say the 12 minor them alive. Rest no. It's like Mardi Gras in the town, man. When them hear say the 12 minors them alive, it's like the people them that if you ever see them on the TV in a Rasta, it's like them prayer answered. Them prayer answered. God work a miracle. For how much days now the minor them inside of that mine of that cave there. And the 12 of them alive. Rasta no. No man come on the TV. This is breaking news. We have just learned that the 12 miners are alive. And the man on the TV said, wow. And the mayor said that this was a miracle. And it seemed that if this is really a miracle. And the people them in the town, hundreds of people start to glad and laugh and jubilation and things. Rasta no, 3 hours after, on the same television, the same news, 3 hours after the news say the 12 miners them dead, them wasn't alive. No, can you imagine? 3 hours before, the whole town, as a matter of fact, the whole America was in jubilance that these 12 milers was alive. 3 hours after, the news say the 12 miners is dead and one miner saved. One of the miner them get saved. Now, going back to this thing tell me, people of Jamaica who's listening to me right now, the persons who was praying to God to save the miners, when they heard that the miners was alive, they started to say that God work. This mystery of God is unraveled, that God a work, man. God saved the miners, and the wife them and the children them of the miners was so, it's like them faith in a God was so emphatically declared and proven that why them never did a prayer, man. The miners them wouldn't save. It's because of them prayer why the miners get saved, man. 3 hours after, the same people them who was in jubilance and happiness and clapping, 3 hours after, them find out say, the people them who, them in a them mind, in a them faith, believe say God did save. In a them mind, the miners them dead. In a the reality, the miners them dead. In a them faith, the miners them live. In a them reality, the miners them dead. Can somebody explain to me? Oh, is that faith? 3 hours. 3 hours it take that faith to get shattered by reality. 3 hours it take. Because we are watching TV the whole time, right through the day. 3 hours it take for a faith that pronounce life get shattered by the pronunciation of death in reality. Where is the God that these people was praying to in the reality? Because they wasn't praying to God in the reality. They was praying to God in the faith. But the reality shows something different. The reality shows what? The miners them dead. And a one miner save. Right now I struggle for him live. Them say I get better. This is the Cutting Edge on FM, yes.
Mutabaruka?
Yes, blessed.
Yes, my beloved. This Abba Zero.
Brethren, give thanks for the weekend, man.
Yes, my beloved. Let me ask you something. How come you're still on the air?
A quarter to 2 now, man. I'm not 2 yet.
Okay.
You're not 3 hour difference, You're not 3 hour difference.
But you are still on the air.
Yeah, but I'm not 2 yet. At 2 o'clock, I come and have.
you talking in the ear, but you're still talking to me?
Because you listen to the radio, man. Stop listening to the radio.
Oh.
You listen to two things, man. At the ear, you're on the radio, you know.
I am on the air right now?
Yeah, man, you're on the radio, man.
Oh, most beloved, kind and great. Wow.
You're on the ear, and that's why I'm telling you, give thanks for the weekend. Go on and I said,
what a weekend, my beloved.
Yeah, man, it's sweet, man. Sweet.
What a joy. I just want to send out an energy motor because it's so significant right now that we should have made that move over the weekend.
Yeah.
And to experience that experience of the Virgin Island with the same gift that Jamaica gave to the Virgin
Islands. Reggae music.
You know?
Yeah, man. And the message of Rastafari.
Reggae energy and this Rastafari energy field that has anointed these youth, these men and women.
Yes.
From such a distance.
Yes.
Just seeing a certain space of cleanliness within the air. We just want to say, give thanks for your spirit for coming and for even the space of anointing these Rasta man and woman within the new faculty.
Yes.
In particular, knowing that Von Benjamin is such an influential voice in the VI.
Yes.
The lead singer of
Midnight,
the group. To go on stage and express Ethiopia, Haile Selassie I, before David, before Solomon.
Yes.
That was just such a power motor to know that a Rastafari in his youthful spirit can be so open.
Yes, to the reasoning.
New faculty.
To the reasoning, yeah, man.
To the reasoning that is so necessary.
And you know, we're good about that too. Him never ever wait till we're gone and leave the island. He said right up front there when we're still there.
Away motor.
Yes.
And within that spirit motor, I just say right now it's time for our people, near and far, to look within themselves, question the best of themselves, and don't hide from the truth, because you know what? At times we live in denial of even things that we doubt.
Yes.
You know, so, Muta, within the space of talking to you now, I'm in a joy and an appreciation loving of just the goodness of the work that you express on a day-to-day basis. You remember, like the beloved Von Benjamin expressed, Mutabaruka, you're an institution that needs walls around you in the nature of protection. We just send out love unto your spirit and unto all our brothers and sisters.
I get the brags. I get the brags there.
Oh, you got the brags. Give thanks for the spirit of
man, the Virgin come through with them. Yeah, man, give thanks.
Give thanks.
So, you hear the reason a while ago?
I heard everything, Muta.
Ah, beautiful.
And it's such a space of just saying to you, questions are so important now. Because if you don't ask questions, Muta, sometimes you will forever live in the illusion of what you accept.
And what was running from?
Not everything we accept, Muta, is real.
Yes.
There's so much stuff in the illusion of conditionings that we have accepted for so long that binds us perpetually in the same repetitive state of the illusion.
Yes.
You know, Muta, it's like this, my beloved. Here and now, Rastafari is arising. It's a rising by which each and every one, if they can catch themselves in the space of this knowing, the earth, what we say salvation, is right before us.
Yes.
So, beloved, just to say now, we ask the youths of Jamaica, in particular the young youths who have the guns and who sending out the bullets and creating more death upon death upon death. We're asking these youths to stop, question themselves, and see the futility of the pain that they're perpetuating in such a small island. Just today, someone expressed to me, Abba Zero, how could the island be so small and be the #1 death spot on the planet?
And that we ask a question every day. An island that was so like a light and a beacon of hope for the world has now become the dead trap of the world. You know?
Muta, to see that this island still have what is called reggae music in consciousness, Nyabingi in consciousness, Rastafari in consciousness, and with all that energy, for we to still experience the death on a daily basis,
yes,
we have to ask ourselves, where does it end?
Yeah.
And I am not putting out any energy to say Rastafari is responsible or reggae music is responsible, but for an island to have so much consciousness, Mutabaruka, it's for the youths to just question, where are they going with the death? And what does it take? And I see deeply, Muta, that the politicians of Jamaica, they're perpetuating a syndrome of corruption by which the youth themselves are living out a legacy of the evilness of the politicians.
That them plant.
That they've planted.
Them plant it and I run from it like say them never did have nothing to do with it.
Muta.
Terrible.
You know, when we got to Puerto Rico, there's a Rasta man from Ghana.
Yeah, Quasi.
That housed us.
Quasi, yes.
Quasi.
When we reached there, them tell me, say, I just left there.
Yes, beloved.
Him come for me at the airport. Him come for me at the airport and him say, oh, you know, your brethren, them just leave them. I say, wow, I think them gone after for a long time.
Beloved, he played us a video by the name of One Love.
Oh, yeah, the movie there, yes.
That movie, Mutabaruka, I would recommend each and every family, wherever they are, to get that movie and to look deep within that movie, because there's a message there that the pastors...
It's showing at Jamaica, you know. It did show at Jamaica, you know.
Oh, brother.
It's showing at the theater at Jamaica.
Like that to be shown in Jamaica, and we still have this energy of violence this way, Muta. Beloved, I cannot be hopeless. I have to keep this hope alive. But
of course.
I say to you, this movie has transformed and answered so much questions just within my being. And if we could just put it out to say, let's return again to this spirit of this knowing of what is called redemption.
Yes.
It's a redemption spirit, you know, Muta, by which if we just catch this space, and it's in every one of us.
Yes.
It's not a redemption that you're going to find from a gospel. It's a knowingness within ourselves that we're going to find this space to say, look, man, truth stands, righteousness stands.
All while.
And it's forever.
Yeah, man.
Muta, Rastafari is one perfect love.
Blessed, my Lord.
Rastafari transcends all the dogmas and all the illusions.
And all the religion and all the God.
And all the religions and the confusion.
Give thanks, brethren.
Rastafari live forever.
As is. Yeah, Abba Zeros calling from San Francisco.
So my people, this one was really, really interesting. And I hope you guys did learn something. So, when you don't know, me dey upon the Black Unity program. So feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. If you're new, blessings to each and everyone. Up until then, adios.